This video will show you how to create a simple graph. This data is taken from a previous exercise of comparing power prices. Now the first thing to do is to select your data. So we go to the Insert tab. If you want to see a full range of the different charts, you click this bottom corner here. If you've got some saved templates that you want to use, then click up here and select the template that you want to use. If you don't have any templates saved, easiest option is just to choose one of these particular options for a chart. In our case, we're going to do a column chart. Now there's a whole lot of different types. There's 3D ones, cylinder, cone, pyramid. My recommendation is just to keep things simple. The simple two-dimensional column chart I find is the most readable. So Excel takes your data and automatically creates this chart. It also creates these three tabs at the top here. Now we're going to have a look at the Layout tab first. Now you'll see that this chart already has a chart title. You can change that just by selecting it and over-typing the current name. So compare power prices, and just click outside the area when you're finished. So if we go back up to the ribbon, we look at chart title, we can choose to have no chart at all. We can change the position of the title. My preference is actually to have it above the chart. And you'll find a lot of these things come down to personal preference and also the context or audience that you're preparing the document for. Axis titles. Now it's asking me about primary horizontal and vertical. In this case, I'm going to add a title. I'm going to call it Power Companies. I'm also going to add a title on the vertical or what you'd call the y-axis when you're at school. Now the next one along is the legend. The legend is this thing here. It says total amount. If you had more than one value, like if we tried plotting several different power usages, like 600, 800 and 1000, we could potentially have 3 sets of bars for each power company. And then we would have 600, 800 and 1000 coming on our legend key. Now when you've only got one value, you probably don't need a legend, so I'm going to turn that off. But you can have it in different positions. I either show it at the right or at the bottom, but it is again a personal preference thing. Data labels. This is adding the values to the different bars in your chart, or if you're doing a pie chart, the different segments. In this case, I'm going to add the actual values, and I've got some options where I want to put it. I'm actually going to choose outside end. Now another option for showing data values is to use a data table. So that is one option. Generally, I don't use a data table, but that is an option available to you. I personally prefer just to use data labels. But there are times if you've got lots of different values, you probably don't want to use data labels because they'll be too crowded on your chart. Another thing to look at is grid lines in this axis area. You can turn them off completely. You can have just major grid lines, that's ones that will go across. You could potentially do the same with vertical, though that's not very common with a column chart. So those are the main things I want to show you on the Layout tab. On the Format tab, I generally don't use anything here, but what I do use is the Design tab. Now you may have some personal preferences about the colours of a column chart. You might like this one. Personally I don't, but it's an option available to you. I'm just going to go back to the blue one and have it like that. One of the options that we could have done instead of going to the Layout tab is to choose a built-in layout. We could have selected that right here, and you would just click on a layout like that. I'm just going to undo. If you find that you need to change the type of chart that you've got, then you can click on Change Chart Type. And you think, okay, I might actually want a bar chart. So let's go for this one. Click OK. and immediately it swaps it around to a bar chart. I'm going to go back to a column chart. Now if you're happy with what you've created and you're likely to be using it for some sort of regular report, then you can save it as a template. It'll ask you for a name. You can give it a name that you'll recognize, and you can press save. Before doing that, I'm going to shift this chart onto its own sheet. To do that, I go to the Move Chart icon on the Design tab, click on New Sheet, give the sheet a name. That name appears down here. Now I'm just going to have a review of the chart to see if I'm happy with it. Personally, I'd like the axes titles to be in a larger font, so I'm going to go to the Home tab and simply use the Increase Font Size label to increase it. I'd also like the name of the power companies slightly larger too. Similarly with the title for the vertical axis, I'm going to increase that. And I'm happy with the size of the numbers. Going to increase the size of the title to 24. Now I'm feeling a little more comfortable with this chart. I can then go back to the Design tab and save it as a template if I so desire. Now one other thing, if you're updating your chart each month with different values, for instance you may have a chart that you've done for April and you may want to update it with May data. To change the data that it looks at, click Select Data, select the range and press OK. And the chart is updated with a new set of data. So this demonstrates how to create a simple graph.